welcome back to It's Called Football. Here we are, ready to go straight into the second half of the Premier League season. Matchday 20 is right around the corner, kicking off from December 30th. And as always, we're not going to leave you hanging. Here's our look ahead to the games that are about to take place. We start off with Saturday's early fixture being Luton Town near the bottom of the table versus Chelsea, who at the moment have been clinging on to 10th place and a spot in the top half of the Premier League. Chelsea is one of the sides that has actually managed to get a victory over Luton Town by more than a single goal margin this season. In the reverse meeting between the two sides, Chelsea won 3-0. And so they will be confident going into this game, knowing that they can score past Luton and keep a good defense against them. But Luton Town has grown and adapted to the league with every passing week, and they are currently going into this game off the back of two victories in a row. They will be looking, you can bet your house on it, that they will be going for three in a row. Luton hold no fear against anybody right now, and they will definitely be up for this battle and possibly a piece of revenge. Aston Villa then take on Burnley in a clash of two teams that have both decided to have claret and blue as their main colours in their kit. Aston Villa is definitely the stronger of the two sides. Villa still sit in third place in the league, Burnley sitting in 19th. It's definitely a mismatch in terms of the quality on paper, but as we've seen in recent weeks alone, how you face off against each other on paper has nothing to do with how the game ends up being on the pitch. Villa lost their 15 game winning run at home when they drew against Sheffield United in a shock result 2 match days ago, and they will be extra determined to make sure they don't slip up even further in this game. Burnley, of course, are still struggling for any sort of consistent result that they're able to string together, but they may take heart from what Sheffield United managed here and be aiming to at least take away a point. We then have a London derby as Crystal Palace take on Brentford, both sides struggling for form. Brentford with 6 defeats out of their last 7 games. Crystal Palace with absolutely 0 wins in their last 8 games, dating all the way back to the start of November. We are now about to hit 2024 in a couple of days, and Palace will be desperate to get a home win on the board to see out the current year. And then we have another mismatch on paper, at least, as Manchester City host Sheffield United. City have never conceded a goal at home against Sheffield United, so they will be determined to at least try and put that right this time. In the reverse meeting between the two, Sheffield United nearly stole a draw out of the game before Manchester City's Rodri stole all 3 points within the last couple of minutes of the game. City, of course, are back now from their Club World Cup exploits where they were successful, and they returned to the Premier League with a bang as they won 3-1 away to Everton. They will be now keen to make sure that they continue their wins and try and climb back up the table where they feel they should be already at this point in the season. And then we have a very interesting tactical battle as Wolves take on Everton. Wolves have generally been very good. Mostly they're only in the bottom half of the table right now because of, uh, shall we say, inconsistencies in officiating that has occurred in their games. We've talked in detail in many previous videos about the standard of officiating, and there's been no bigger victim in the Premier League this season of that than Wolves. Everton, for themselves, only find themselves in the bottom half of the table because of a 10-point deduction that was uh, deemed the appropriate consequence for some financial breaches by the club several months ago. So in reality, both these teams really could be in the top half right now if it weren't for off the field issues, and in Wolves' case, potential corruption. You can be the decider for whether that's the case or not. We wrap up Saturday's fixtures with Nottingham Forest hosting Manchester United. Both teams have picked up hugely morale-boosting wins in Matchday 19, and with Forest at home, they will be determined to make the atmosphere electric to try and make sure they can claim a second big scalp in just the span of a few days. Sunday then sees 2 games. Arsenal and Tottenham, both North London clubs, have both suffered defeats in matchday 19 and deserved defeats. Arsenal and Fulham played out a draw, surprise draw, when they met early in the season, and Arsenal especially will feel like they should have done enough to win that game, so they will be looking to make sure they put things right. But Fulham, who have not scored in their last three games and have lost all three, will be determined to get back to some sort of consistent form and decent results. Tottenham's challenge isn't any easier. They might be at home, but they are welcoming probably the most informed side in the Premier League right now in AFC Bournemouth, who have had six wins and a draw out of their last seven games. They're currently, I believe, on the longest unbeaten stretch of form of any team in the league. Certainly the best return of points right now. Monday then sees a clash which also has a little history from this season alone. Liverpool versus Newcastle. The reverse fixture saw Virgil van Dijk, the Liverpool star defender and captain, sent off, and yet Liverpool managed to turn things around and win that match after falling behind anyway. Newcastle were incensed by that, and they will definitely be out for blood and looking for revenge. Liverpool, currently sitting top of the league table, will be hoping to make sure they don't slip up because Arsenal, Aston Villa, and even Manchester City are breathing down their necks. And then we see the lone match on Tuesday to wrap up matchday 20 with Brighton, who currently beat Tottenham 4-2 in their last fixture, traveling to West Ham, who themselves got a huge victory for their own morale, 2-0 away to Arsenal. So both teams here have just emerged victorious over North London sides in games that you would normally expect them to have lost. So they'll be going in on cloud nine, both of them, and they will be hoping to make sure that they keep up their good form. Just a quick look at the league table as we head into matchday 20. Liverpool lead the league table with just a bit of breathing space now over Arsenal, who then hold a little bit of breathing space themselves over Aston Villa. Manchester City are right behind them and have a game in hand. Obviously, that game in hand is not being played right now, but City will be looking to take advantage in case either Arsenal or Aston Villa drop any points whatsoever. If somehow Arsenal and Villa both lose their games and City wins, then City jumps straight into second place. Tottenham then sits behind Manchester City with an opportunity to go as high as third should the teams above them drop points. And West Ham might be able to catch Tottenham, but with the goal difference factor at play right now, that would need West Ham to win by a huge margin against Brighton and Tottenham to lose by a huge margin against Bournemouth. Manchester United could climb just one spot higher should they manage to win away to Nottingham Forest, while Brighton, if they manage to beat West Ham, would take West Ham's place in sixth, with West Ham dropping just below them. Newcastle can climb up to seventh should they win their match away to Liverpool. No easy feat whatsoever. And at the moment, Newcastle can simply take a little bit of comfort in the fact that they can't drop below ninth should they lose to Newcastle or to Liverpool. Chelsea, of course, will be hoping to bridge the gap between themselves and the few teams above them, but Chelsea know that they need to win their game. Away to Luton, not an easy task. You can ask Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. None of them found it easy going when they travelled away to Luton. So Chelsea do have a task on their hands, and then they have to hope that the teams directly above them all drop points so that they could be caught in future match weeks. The bottom half sees Wolves and Bournemouth ready to pounce if Chelsea do slip up. They're all on equal points right now, these three sides, and both Wolves and Bournemouth have done more than enough right now to merit being in the top half. For Wolves especially, it's happened out of their control why they're not in the top half, and they will be definitely out to try and beat Everton and hope that Chelsea slip up. Fulham obviously don't have an easy task as Arsenal come to town. Last season, the game between those two sides at Fulham ended 3-0 to Arsenal. who had scored all three of their goals in the first half and then just needed to professionally see out the rest of the game. But of course, football doesn't always follow patterns like that one season to the next, as Fulham proved by stealing a draw away to Arsenal earlier this season. A win would not actually move Fulham anywhere in the table, but it would put them within catching distance of the two teams above them. Brentford could overtake Fulham should they win their game, but obviously they need other factors to work in their favor. Crystal Palace need to beat Brentford to go above them, and should Palace win and Fulham also lose, then Palace would jump up as high as 13th. Nottingham Forest obviously did well to win away at Newcastle in Matchday 19, and now they're at home welcoming another tough side who got their own big victory. So Forest will definitely be aiming for a win, which could propel them up to 14th should they manage to get uh, a victory, which is perhaps a little unlikely on paper, but that's what we said last week about their trip to Newcastle. If Everton wins their game against Wolves, they will go up as high as 14th should the sides above them drop points as well. Uh, they've obviously had a couple of defeats in their last two games, but they did have four wins before that. So Everton know that they have the quality to get the win here, but they are away, and Wolves at home seem to be beating almost every big side that comes to visit. And then finally, we have the bottom three sides. Sheffield United and Burnley cannot overtake Luton right now. They can't get above them, but they can just try to bridge the gap if Luton do drop points to Chelsea. If Luton somehow manage to get a victory over Chelsea, they actually do have a chance of going out of the relegation zone and as high as potentially 15th place. So they know there's a lot on the line, but Luton have been very professional and not seeming to let this position in the table play on their minds, which is good for them because I think that might be the key for them getting out safely from the relegation zone. So we've got three featured matches that we think are worth your time over this match day. Now, obviously, there might be events you've planned for New Year's Eve, for New Year's Day. You might be with family, so why not all sit together and watch a couple of these games? Sunday will see Tottenham take on Bournemouth. Normally, this would be quite a bit of a uh, difference in quality on paper, at least, but Tottenham, obviously having lost their last game against Brighton, and they've still got players injured, key players that they normally rely on. They could be there for the taking, and Bournemouth know that. They've shown no fear against sides they've played recently, whether they're home or away. They've beaten Manchester United away comfortably recently. Uh, and their last game was a nice 3-0 win against Fulham. They're going in completely sure of themselves and with full belief in their own quality. It is going to be an interesting game to see. And then what better way to kick in 2024 than tuning into Liverpool against Newcastle, a clash of two top sides. Newcastle ravaged by injuries right now, Liverpool flying high, getting results, top of the table. But with history between these two sides, it is going to be a very, very good game. And it usually is anyway. So we definitely recommend that if you can, tune into this game. And then finally on Tuesday, West Ham against Brighton. Neither of them by name are necessarily the elite sides in the country, but both of them are in excellent form. They've got lots of talented players available, and generally any game between these two teams tends to serve up entertainment, and isn't that really what we're looking for when we watch a football game? There aren't too many fixtures with a lot riding on them. Of course, there's a lot of teams in the league that are only separated by the ones around them by 2, 3 points. So there's a lot of opportunity for teams to overtake others if results go their way. But the biggest stories here, like we said, one of them is Liverpool and Newcastle. Last time they met, it was at Newcastle where Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk was controversially sent off, uh, and Liverpool were behind 1-0. They then subbed on Darwin Núñez, who scored twice for them late on to turn the game around and give Liverpool a win. A huge win, really, in the context of the season because Newcastle have managed to beat Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United. They've beaten a lot of top sides at their home, and Liverpool is the only one at the moment that's managed to walk away with a win. Uh, so they will be confident going into this game. Newcastle will be out for revenge because they know they have the quality. The problem for Newcastle is that they, at the moment, have a lot of injuries to deal with, which means they will be playing a severely weakened lineup. Which means adrenaline has to be the thing that gets Newcastle through this game if they're to get through it with any sort of positive result. Nunez for Liverpool had been gone 11 games, I believe, without a goal in the league, and finally ended that drought in their last match away to Burnley, where he scored the opening goal of the game. So perhaps that's given him enough confidence to strike again and cause more heartbreak for Newcastle. We will have to see. The other big story is between London rivals Arsenal and Fulham. They played out a 2-2 draw, which Arsenal essentially gifted. Um, they gave away a goal in the opening minute, and then again, after turning the game around and going 2-1 up, they gifted an equalizer by not defending a corner properly against Fulham. Neither side was happy with that draw, and at the moment, both sides struggling for form. Fulham have lost and not scored in their last three games. Arsenal just had a wake-up call of a defeat to West Ham, and before that, they drew away to Liverpool. Ordinarily a good result in isolation, but given that Arsenal currently only have one win in their last four matches, they will want to turn it around. Fulham will want to turn it around. We'll have to see what happens. So, what do we think is going to happen in this game? I think Luton and Chelsea, unfortunately, Luton, while they have a lot about them and they show a lot of heart, Chelsea are starting to click into gear, and I think they are going to win this game 3-1. Perhaps I'm overestimating Chelsea. I've done it before in match predictions, and then they just haven't performed up to scratch. I would love for Luton to continue their upward trend, but I do think Chelsea do have a lot of quality and players starting to click into form. Aston Villa and Burnley is a game that I think if Villa can see it through professionally, they should win this one. I'm predicting 2-0 to Villa. Palace and Brentford, I think Brentford do have a little more quality about them, even with all their injuries. And Crystal Palace, they might score, but I think Brentford have more available to them, and they should get this one by a narrow margin. Manchester City shouldn't really face an issue against Sheffield United, especially at their own home. I'm predicting City to run away with this one 4-0 as they get back into form. Wolves and Everton is a tougher one to call. I do feel that Wolves have a little bit more quality right now. Everton are a good side, but I think Wolves at their home are something else this season. Uh, and I do think they'll come away with this one 3-1. Nottingham Forest and Manchester United. Normally, I would say United have this one comfortably, but I think Forest will definitely be confident and will make it a tough battle. I do still think Manchester United will win this game 2-1. A narrow margin, it might be 1-0, but I don't think it'll be more than a one goal margin in this game. I'm going to say the same for Fulham and Arsenal. I'm sticking my neck out here because Arsenal have not been in good form, and this is a very easy game to drop more points in. But they need things to click. And one big thing was that Arsenal were missing Kai Havertz through suspension against West Ham, who has been one of the shining lights for them over the last 4 or 5 weeks. They will have Havertz back for this game, and I think he could be crucial in turning the tide for Arsenal's form again. Bournemouth have been fantastic, but I think Spurs just have a bit more about them. It's very possible this scoreline could go the other way. Bournemouth don't seem to be afraid of anybody right now. But I think Spurs have enough forwards right now who are threatening, who can score goals, and I think they will edge this 2-1. Liverpool and Newcastle, I think, actually is going to be more comfortable for Liverpool this time around. At home, they're different. There's not many sides in any club in football who strike fear into an opponent's hearts as much as Liverpool at their own home. And I think they will win this one 3-1. And then West Ham and Brighton, I think ultimately they will kind of cancel each other out. They are very good sides, and both of them have deadly attackers. Brighton had some players coming back from injury. West Ham have lost potentially Lucas Paqueta to injury recently, but they still have plenty of other solid attackers available. And I think both sides will have taken a lot of heart from their wins in the previous match day, but neither will be able to fully edge it over the other in this one, I think. So I'm going to hold that at 2-2. This is where we're going to leave you for now. Matchday 20 kicks off on December 30th and runs all the way through to January 2nd, which means you could very easily see in your new year just by following the football as we go all the way through. Please drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and share with others that you think might get something out of this. New year, perhaps a new resolution to start following the game in England in a little more detail. So take care, stay safe. We will talk to you soon, and remember, it's called football.